Back out here in the garage with the light going through my head. I just wanted to. This story pertains to China directly, and it's a story just like all the other stories I've told you over the videos that I have here about my history and different things like that. So Kevin Shipp said that I needed to confess to all my crimes, so here's one of them. CIA. Whenever I was in the army, whenever I left Korea, and while I was in Korea, I was stationed with in the United Nations Command, right? So I had friends from all over the world that I met and everything, and I was really particularly like the Filipino people, and I made friends with a military intelligence officer named Edy Alejo, and he lives in the Philippines. And whenever I left Korea, I said, "Hey, Ed, I'm going to come by. I've never been to the Philippines. They'll pay for my ticket to go there and then on towards home and everything." Of course, there was more to it than that. I didn't really understand what was going on until I got there, and we sat down. Military intelligence, the United States and the Philippines sat down in the Philippines and set a lot of this up. By the way, I was given the green light to go ahead and tell all of this. See, now we're coming to that conclusion, hopefully, of the major long play that took place here. While I was there, though, I was 18 years old, and I like to party, always have. And excuse me, I was 20 years old at the time. So I got out of the army on my 21st birthday. Actually, I had 3 months of vacation saved up, so I got out 3 months before my 21st birthday. But I joined the army when I was 17, right? But so I go to the Philippines, and while I'm there, another thing that took place while I was there, I didn't know that you could walk. Of course, I have Ed Alejo's business card in my wallet, and he was very high, one of the highest ranking intelligence officers in the Philippines. He was way up there, okay? And that's the guy that we had the meeting with that nobody ever knew about until now, that we set up another nuclear play that worked out to perfection, didn't it? There's a whole lot of things nobody understands these days. Kim Jong Un works for us. Sure is nice having that cover of the UN when you're handing bones to the North Korea, isn't it, China? Slip that one in on you. Flexomatic ping pong paddle. Is Forrest Gump making sense yet? Set y'all up to perfection. Now, but on a side note, while I was there, I'm really good at running from the cops and getting away from them. I always have been. I always get away. So I didn't know though while I was in the Philippines that you couldn't walk down the street with a beer bottle in your hand. Of course, I'm walking down the street and the cops show up and walk up to me and they're like, "You come to jail. You can't walk down the street with beer bottle." I was like, all right. So I handed them the bottle, right? And then I just took off running, right? I'm fucking running. I get away, right? Well, I get back to my hotel, right? And because I had a date, okay? And that was the whole thing. So I get back to my hotel and I'm getting ready to go out to meet the date that I was supposed to meet up with. And I hear a knock on my door. Well, I didn't really think this through completely when I ran. I was the only white boy in Manila that day. So it didn't take them long to find me. So they came and found me. "Well, you run from us, right?" And I'm like, fuck, I'm going to prison in the Philippines. So they haul me to the station, and they're telling me on the way there, "You know what we do to white Americans in prison? We rape them." All the shit the cops were. And I was like, this is going to suck. So I get there, and we get up to the police station. I get out, and I go into the police station. They said, "Our sergeant's going to kick your ass before we sit you in jail," and all this stuff. Well, I walk in, and it's this little short sergeant, and he's just standing there, looking at me come in. And of course, I figure, okay, this guy might be military or something. So I got all military. I did the parade rest in front of him while I talked to him and acted very professional. I said, I was just like, well, what's up? What's going on? And he said, why you run? That was all he said. And I said, well, I had a date. He goes, you run because you had a date? I said, I know, she was really good looking. I'm sorry I ran, but the pussy was on my mind, Sergeant. He's like, what are you doing here in the Philippines, American? I said, well, I have a friend here in the Philippines. We're working on something together. His name's Edy Alejo. I have his business card in my wallet. He's a military intelligence. He said, you come here to work with our military? I said, yes, sir. I sure did. That's why I'm here. He said, let me see his business card. So I pulled it out and I gave it to him. He goes, oh, you're not lying to me. Okay, Mr. Smith. Well, you still owe me money. I said, I'll give you everything in my wallet. And so I had like $200 in my wallet, right? I gave it to him. He goes, this is not enough money. I said, fuck, how much do you need, man? Hell, a fucking 75 cents buys 3 beers. How much money do you need? He said, I need $500. I said, and the only reason he was saying that is because I made his police officers were still behind me. Of course, he's looking at me like, winking at me and shit. So I kind of figured out what was going on. So I told him, like I said, this is in direct reference to China right now. I told him, I said, look, I tell you what I'll do. I'll write you a check. Okay. So he actually wrote his address down, winking at me because he didn't want to piss his little troopers off that I outran. So he writes his address down, and I walk outside and I come back in. I go, I don't know where I'm at. You think your police officers could give me a ride back to town? He said, okay. True story.